I'm going to read a paper called like Trenton Without the Thrills, and it's about identity. Oh God. Sorry everybody. So let's see. In late 1995, a series of handwritten manifestos were photocopied, then wheat pasted onto vending machines, electric poles, and other surfaces around the city of New York. In a poster on the music of Pavement, the author compares the love his misguided girlfriend shows for him to the love that a chime tower bears for the dead, or a youth fascinated by a Glock pistol. How can she love him, it asks, when he is unworthy of love compared to a band like Pavement? Each of the many manifestos are signed Camden Joy. In an interview with the zine Loud Paper, Joy was asked how he'd chosen his name. He describes walking around Trenton, New Jersey, researching a short story when a local asked why he was setting it there. I said, I just wanted one of the darkest, saddest places in the country. And I figure that if you can find a reason to go on in a city like Trenton, then that is a beacon that can carry you through anything. And they said, oh, Trenton is not so bad at all. You ought to go to Camden. I always thought that Camden Joy was something that could carry you through the darkest times. Since wheat pasting posters falls into a legal gray area potentially considered destruction of property, a pseudonym may have also had the added bonus of offering something of a shield from law enforcement. The music industry's lineage of adopted names runs long. Syd Barrett, Frank Black, Captain Beefheart, Freddie Johnston, Danny Kaye, and Peter Tosh, all stage names, appear in Joy's writing. In his writing, Joy often elides the names of performers and bands, instead rendering them as initials, converted to nicknames, or feigned as forgotten. Michael Jackson becomes the MJ-97, a robot or pop product maintained by an enormous staff of workers. Joy's novel about the Eagles, Palm Tree 13, is 2/3 through before the band's name is mentioned. The refusal to name the band allows the reader to see its members as characters defined by their actions within the story, rather than as the icons or caricatures that might otherwise come to mind. We see the character Fry as a layabout drunk, struggling just to empty an ashtray, rather than Glenn Fry, the classic rock superstar with a net worth of $70 million. In a profile by Robert Wolanski, Joy compares the use of real-world figures in his writing to painting on a Polaroid. You have a Polaroid that's wholly accurate, then you start working with it, and you have something that's neither one or the other. I am trying to get to this thing where we are haunted and pursued by celebrities and what we imagine them to be by listening to their records. The uncertainty, the wobbly feeling of not knowing where we stand with this person singing this song and whether they're telling the truth. In addition to serving as a pseudonym and writing persona, Joy also appears as a character. Who is Camden Joy? Although many aspects shift in each fictional incarnation, he is frequently un- or underemployed. He has always already just been broken up with by his girlfriend. He writes candy-fueled rants. He is variously a rock biographer for hire, a drifter who lives in a ravine, a liquor store clerk, or a traveling knife salesman. Joy's novel Boy Island is a fictionalized account of the author's 3-month stint with the band Cracker, best known for their hit Low. During their first ever tour, prior to the band even deciding on a name. The author at times ended up riding the band's tour bus, working the merch table, and selling t-shirts. Unlike Joy's earlier works, Boy Island is told largely in third person with Joy as a character. In this case, the band's drummer for hire, a role the author had never played. In the novel, Lowry and his band, as part of a game they call Tonnage, continually tally the combined weights of all the women they've slept with on tour. Camden beds exactly no one, until 200 pages into the book, when abruptly, a first-person narrator appears, a gay sound technician who seduces Camden. It's an interesting moment in part because, for the first time in one of Joy's texts, we have a narrator who is explicitly separate from Camden the character. Perhaps fittingly, this novel about the character Camden Joy's coming out caused the outing of Joy, the pseudonymous author's identity as well. Cracker's David Lowery was outraged by Joy's portrayal of him in the novel, and in interviews, Lowery consistently referred to the author not by his pseudonym, but instead by his given name, Tom Edelman. In coverage of the public quarrel, Edelman seems genuinely surprised and hurt by Lowery's reaction. In a pair of Joy's stories that were published shortly after this, Dum Dum Boys and the Greatest Record Album That Was Ever Told, Camden Joy dies or is dead. In Dum Dum Boys, the narrator returns to his hometown in the southern tip of California's Central Valley and learns that a high school friend and one-time bandmate has died. This high school friend, who went by the name Camden, had become prone to crazed rants against the Chinese and the police, and ended up living in a ravine. The unnamed narrator describes how even prior to hearing this, he'd considered wallpapering the major city in which he spent his adulthood with rants written under his friend's name, Camden. Dum Dum Boys both separates and blurs the two Camdens, Camden the character and Camden the narrator. Are the posters and stories we've been reading the works of the ranting delusional friend, or the calm narrator tempted to memorialize him? Joy as a character and Joy as writer are both present in the story, with it left deliberately unclear which one we should see as the real Camden Joy. And then after those stories, Joy the character seems to be effectively dead. Other than Joy's collaboration with the Mekon's Colin B. Morton, Joy the character disappears from the final novellas, and a strong novelistic third person replaces the unhinged rants of the earlier writing. What does a name tell us? Western naming traditions indicate one of two connections: a connection to one's father, as in the last name that one receives at birth, and the connection of a name received through marriage. Long Ball, Edelman's first book published under his own name, is a nonfiction account of the 1975 baseball season, from spring training to World Series, and fittingly, Edelman dedicates it to his father and his wife. Fathers, sons, and family reoccur throughout. Center fielder Fred Lynn's father tells reporters he used to throw a baseball against his son's head just to make him lose his fear of it. Pete Rose sees his deceased hard-to-please father's face appear in the heavens after his record-breaking 4,192nd on-base hit. If in his writing under the name Camden Joy, unattachedness is the norm, in Long Ball, that isolation, the loss of family, team, and community, is a horror that America is continually about to fall into. In Long Ball, these community-shattering forces are represented primarily by the introduction of the close-up into televised sports coverage and the arrival of free agency, which disconnects players from the teams and cities they were once rooted in. This mediated isolation that looms ominously ahead of Edelman's version of 1975 describes the world that Camden Joy lives and rants within. If Cracker frontman David Lowery's unmasking of Joy as Tom Edelman rendered Edelman's birth name as a loss, an invasion, the stripping away of one's self-reinvention, then in Long Ball, Edelman is able to recreate that identity as a positive, one's given name as connection to family, neighborhood, and city. While in some ways this undercuts the priorities that are held up in his writing as Camden Joy, Edelman depicts this oncoming era of US popular culture as seen from Long Ball's 1970s as so lonely and wayward that Camden Joy's quest for a highly personal truth within it becomes all the more daring. Thank you.